Going live right now. Big news. Joe Mixon cut by Bengals. Zack signed to the Bengals. That's huge right now. We're waiting for everything to fill up. Once you jump in here, make sure you hit that like button. That spreads the video out to the algorithm. But let's go ahead and start looking at some stuff as this fills up here. So we're going to go ahead and look at the feed here from Twitter. Schefter's dropping some news here, and the first thing is Zack signed a 2-year deal, $8 million to the Bengals after cutting Joe Mixon, which is huge. So big implications for that, considering Zack going to Cincinnati, got some firepower there. Also, we got Mixon leaving, which is huge. Just got that alert on my phone while I was setting up. So really had to look over that one, add it into the title so you guys know what was going on. So Mixon leaving, where is he going to go in the market? The market's been very hot for running backs today. Running backs been signing left and right. We had like 8 deals. Nothing new with that. Most of the deals were done by 3 p.m. today, which is crazy. Letting us know that the running back class here in 2024 and for this year's draft class, that this NFL, these teams are not very interested in these running backs because they're making a play for these running backs pretty quick off the market. They looked at this 2024 running back class and they're like, hey, we better get our guy now. Maybe we'll get some of these rookies, but we better make sure our bases are covered. Last year in 2023 in the NFL draft, with possibly one of the deepest talents, the NFL faded them. They faded them hard. Now we're looking at running backs moving in the market here in free agency left and right. Joe Mixon just cut by the Bengals. I just got alerted by that off Sleepers right here. Joe Mixon cut 5 minutes ago. I had to add that into the title just to get it on here. Just big time news for today. One thing I want to think about with that is where's he going to go? Where's he going to get the value? Dallas is still looking for a play there. So that's going to be interesting. Dallas is still looking to get someone at the running back position, and Dallas needs to get some workout with that. Austin Eckler going to the Commanders. That was a later signing. That kind of took me off guard because I wasn't really planning for that in my head. I wasn't really planning for one of these. Right there it is. I wasn't really planning for one of the top running backs to go to the Commanders today, which I really should have. Antonio Gibson's gone. Antonio Gibson hitting the market in free agency. We knew that was going to happen. Austin Eckler going to the Commanders. A very interesting situation there. You're getting a rookie quarterback this year in the draft, which is fine. And you're going to need to get another running back there to help cushion the blow of the rookie developing. That being said, when you look at how this team's trying to build here, you're just trying to think, like, how can we develop this quarterback quicker? Is this going to be optimal for him? For fantasy, not really. Not really, but it depends on how you build your team too. If you need a cheap running back, you need a running back that's on the cheap, that might be a back you may want to go after. Really depends on how you build your roster construction there. That's how you're looking at that. But again, when I think about that, not really loving the fit for long term. Not really loving that. A lot of other deals. We're just going down Shefty's Twitter here, looking at some of these deals that went down today, especially that impact us. Gus Edwards going to the Chargers. I love that one. I thought that was a great one. I thought that was very smart. Gus Edwards going to the Chargers, leaving one hardball, going to the other hardball. I think that was a huge deal for them. I think that was a smart move for Gus Edwards. I think there's going to be a nice money ball play with him, and I'm going to be highly interested in him for sure. Like Gus Edwards going to the Chargers, going to a souped-up situation. I imagine the price tag is going to be up for him a little bit. I imagine people are going to perk their ears up. But when you look at Gus Edwards here, And again, he's not going to go up so much that it's going to go to the moon, but he can still be a good money ball player, especially if you're going like 0 RB, just kind of keep running back on the cheap and you're building your running backs with like the 1 to 2 year window type deal, and you're just trying to keep it as cheap as possible. I kind of like that move. He's very efficient. He's very dependable. Coaches depend on him. Coaches love him. You can definitely tell during his tenure at Baltimore. Man, Gus Edwards in Baltimore last year was just vulturing touchdowns left and right. Had a very good season last year. Had some injuries that crept up. I mean, we analyzed him every week because we talked about Keaton Mitchell every week because Keaton Mitchell was that guy that just had those splash moments. And then we looked at Gus Edwards here, and he just kept holding on to the job. Now we're going to San Diego. Now we're going to the Chargers. Never in San Diego anymore, but now we're going back to the Chargers. Going back to a hardball here, souped up offense. It's going to be a little different, and they're going to look to run the ball a little bit. They're looking to beef up the offensive line. They're looking to add some to that. And then Gus Edwards is a great fit there. It just seems like a hardball type of player. Just definitely, just a nice lunchbox player to really bring it home. Dependable. I can definitely see that working out quite well. I like that. I like that move for the Chargers. I think that was a very good move. Moving on down here, looking at some other things. Devin Singletary to the Giants. This has me thinking they might be going. What's down here with some Peter Griffin? But Singletary to the Giants, that's a very interesting move, I believe. I'm still trying to mentally process that. He was good last year with the Texans. He had that run. This ain't the Texans, though. This team's rebuilding, regrouping. But he's also another dependable running back. And you're probably not going to expect many RB1 weeks out of him in this scenario. But also, like, he's going to be free-ish. He's going to be cheap. And if you're building that way, that's cool. I think the Giants might be players for a rookie this year. They might be players that add a rookie to him. That would make sense to get a back like him and add a rookie to it. That's what I would think in roster construction. Devontae Parker getting released. That's something I didn't look at, but Devontae Parker getting released, hitting the market. He's dust. He's done. Devontae Parker's done. We know this. There's nothing new with that. Josh Gordon was a better Patriot. Hell yeah, Josh Gordon is. Josh Gordon's a way better Patriot. Looking at that. But moving on back here. Looking at some more. And then again, we got Josh Jacobs coming to Green Bay. That's like the ultimate landing spot for him. Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay, getting some opportunities. This offense was on the come up. They were looking good last year. Love was looking good. They were moving the football. The running game last year was damaged. There was injuries left and right, and they needed to move on. They needed to move on from Aaron Jones. Contract situation as well. And now Josh Jacobs coming in and take over the load. And he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of workload. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. Josh Jacobs' value is increased today because we know he went to a great landing spot. It's going to be hard to pay up for him. It's going to be hard to want to pay up for an older running back. But still, if you're playing in 1 year, 2 year windows, the age and contract situation doesn't really bother you. It doesn't really bother me too much. I just don't want to pay too much where the opportunity cost of good wide receivers, maybe upside tight end that's younger or anything like that is jeopardized, but still interested. And then when it comes to Aaron Jones, I don't know what's left in the tank there, but I don't think there's much left. I don't think there's much left of Aaron Jones. Hopefully he goes in a situation where he can be viable for a little bit longer, maybe for this year, but I don't think there's much left to go off of with Aaron Jones. He might land in a situation where he gets used a little bit. That would be nice. But still, I think Aaron Jones is pushing dust status. That could be happening sooner than later. I would not be surprised on that. Not at all. Would not be. What are people saying about this? Aaron Jones leaving Green Bay. He'll be in a Texans jersey by tonight. It's almost, what is it, like 11 o'clock right now? He ain't Texan yet, unless I missed it. Jerry Jones looking for Aaron Jones. Jerry Jones is not looking for Aaron Jones. I can say that much. All right, let's move on to the next piece. Coming down here, Kirk Cousins has made over $230 million in his career earnings. That's a lot of money. Compensation update with the Falcons are giving Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $180 million deal, $100 million guaranteed. It's $45 million per year on average. How are you feeling about this situation? Because you look at Twitter and they love it. I mean, just look at the comments here. Kirk Cousins to his agent. I don't even know what that's about. That's funny. That's a lot of Cole's cash. Kirk Cousins is a finesser. Bro been robbing league for years. Bro is making fricky money. He's old and wasted. He's overrated. What else people saying? Will Kirk Cousins ever win a Super Bowl? Do they give out gold jackets for that? Insane career earnings. People are just hating on the money. But the fact that he's going to Atlanta, we got Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, these young guys here with tremendous upside. It's hard not to get excited about that. It's very hard to not get excited about Drake London for sure, because we're going to get a quarterback that can spray accurate targets around the field. That's one thing you can say. Drake London is going to see a big bump, and we've already seen it. No one's saying one bad thing about Drake London. Not one bad thing at all. You have not heard one bad thing about Drake London, and the market's hot on him. The market's super hot on Drake London, and I don't know. He's going to be too expensive to get, and you're not going to want to sell. He's too young. You're pretty much holding him. He's a wide receiver. You don't sell wide receivers of this status unless you can pivot onto a better wide receiver that you like better, that's in similar range or something like that. But that's you doing you at that point. But when you look at him, Drake London, and then Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is back. Kyle Pitts, we can start looking at him as a functional player again. Looking at him with some opportunity. Looking at him that he could actually do something here and not just be a guy just running down the scene, not getting targets. Bijan Robinson, we know he's going to get that year two come up. I don't even think it matters who's that quarterback. You can have Ritter back there. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to have that year two come up. We got Arthur Smith gone. We're going to keep it rolling with him. I think things are going to be looking good with him. I think we're going to have plenty of upside. So when we're looking at the Atlanta Falcons, things are looking up. Things are looking grand. Moving on, looking at some more news from the day. Make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I'm going to have more live streams coming at you for sure. Keep you guys on your toes. Offensive line coverage. Looking at what covers for us. And then this one's big for me. I think I have it in a title. Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles. Looking at the money here, 3-year, $37.75 million contract that could be worth up to $46.75 million, includes $26 million guaranteed. 3 years though, is that more like a 1 and 2 year contract really with funny money? Now beats the franchise tag number and has a maximum average year per salary, $15.83 million, which would be the second highest for a running back in NFL history. Fantasy-wise, he's got Saquon upside. You willing to pay for that? You want that on your team? You want that? You got the Eagles here. They move the ball pretty well. He's going to be getting opportunities. DeAndre Swift was killing it early last year. He should be doing better than what DeAndre Swift, or at least be more consistent compared to what DeAndre Swift did earlier last year. That's something that you're looking at that's in the cards. Also, since that ACL, it hasn't really been looking like Saquon Barkley. Also, Saquon Barkley's had an extensive injury history. But the caveat to that, or devil's advocate, DeAndre Swift prior had an extensive injury history, and he played all right. I don't think that's too much to worry about there. But when I look at that, just something you got to think about. But I want to check something out here with some of the numbers to look at. Pull that up. Let's see here. See if it works. Is it going to tell me to log in? It's being slow. Am I being slow? Am I being laggy or something? DeAndre Swift. Looking at his numbers here. This is on RotoViz. I'm going to show everything here. Looking at his numbers, though, he had a good start to the season last year. 1, 2, 3, what was that? 4 RB1 weeks in the first 6 weeks of the season. And then in the first 8, he had 4 RB1 weeks and 3 RB2 weeks. And then things went a little bit downhill on the back end of the season, on the back 9. But still, Saquon Barkley with that usage, with that workload, looking at the targets he had per game. Let's see here. This is a good app. If you have this for fantasy football research, you don't really need much else. If you really just play in these apps all day, honestly, you don't really need articles or anything. If you play in the apps that RotoViz. Let's see, he had a 10-target game, a 6-target game, 2-3-2, 4, 3-3-2, 3-1, 6, 3-1. So the upside in the targets wasn't really there. Wasn't really crazy. Let's look at the opportunities. Opportunities, we got 31. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games of over 20 opportunities. Most of them are less than that. You imagine they're going to try and get Saquon more since they're paying him that much. But you also got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. You want to throw the ball. Hurts runs it. That could limit his targets because you want to push the targets downfield, which would limit his opportunities. Let's see here. 17.4 opportunities a game. How many opportunities do you think Saquon's going to get per game with this team? It's got to be, 19, 20, 22 or something like that? Because you're still going to push the ball to A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith and company, and spreading that around through the air. You're not going to be checking it down to him a lot. That just ain't going to happen. That's not what I'd be looking at to do if I were them. I wouldn't be looking to do that. I'd be looking to spread the ball around. I would not be looking to just keep feeding Saquon unless the game script called for that. But you look at these numbers here, and you're looking at that, and that's what DeAndre. So especially weeks when he was hot, like 2 through 6, 31 against Minnesota, but really 23 against the Rams here. They got a little bit against the Jets at 20, and then rest of them are like under 20. That's something to look at here. I think he's going to get more than 17.4 opportunities per game for Saquon. I think that's probably like you're looking at that plus a little bit more, maybe 19, 20, 22. Like I don't see him getting 30. Do you think he'll get 30 opportunities a game? I don't think so. Look at the targets per game. Going back to this. You look at his targets per game. By the game, not per game, by the game. Target share per game. It's up there. 7, 14, 6, 12, 18, 23, 10. That's got to increase a little bit for Saquon, right? 10% target share on the season, 16 active games. You got to use Saquon a little bit more in the passing game, right? I think everything's going to be upticked a little bit, but it's going to like flatline out. You look at the numbers, that's what that's really saying. Hey, we got Saquon Barkley. We paid for Saquon Barkley. We probably just switch this camera around a little bit like that. We paid for Saquon Barkley. But you look at these numbers right here. You got a 10 here. You got a 6, 6. And then the rest of them are under 5. So maybe we average, instead of 3.1 targets per game, maybe we push 4 to 5 to 6. But you look at the rest of the team here. Like, another thing you want to account for, A.J. Brown. Look at that. Look at that. That's a hell of a season there. 9.2 targets per game, but he was hitting some upside in some of these. 15 targets against the Dolphins, 14 against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, a pass funnel defense. Washington, 13. San Francisco, more of a pass funnel. Teams were trying to push it downfield against them. Dallas, similar light. They play to the weaknesses of the defenses, it looks like, against those pass funnel. But again, A.J. Brown's A.J. Brown. He's going to get those targets. 13, 13, 10, 11, 15, 13, 14 are all on the top end of his targets by week. Looking solid. 19.2 a game. Target share-wise. What we're looking at, where's that at? Where's his target share? Target share right there. Look at that. 50% of the targets against Miami, 43% against Dallas, 46 against Dallas the other time. Dallas just doesn't cover him, I guess. They just don't want to cover him. 40% against Tampa Bay, 38% against Washington, 30% target share on the season. You got him soaking up 30% of the targets. And then you got Devonta Smith. Am I not spelling that right? There he is. Then we got Devonta Smith up here, getting a ton of the targets as well, 23%. So you got 53% of the targets going to your main wide receiver. How many targets is going to be available for the running back when 10% of them that we just pulled up here went to DeAndre Swift? And he was getting, 3.7 a game or whatever? That's off. I know that's wrong, but it's close to that number. 7.1 targets per game going to Devonta Smith. I don't see him slowing down too much. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see that. I mean, you can get more yards after the catch with Saquon. You can push it out back there. But again, why not just push it downfield to these wide receivers? You got the capital invested into them. It's not a bad problem, but we're looking at fantasy upside, what's going on. Hey, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I love streaming with you guys. This is like one of my favorite things to do. I'm just going over the news with you guys on free agency here. Pulling up some stats, covering Saquon. If you're new, if you guys just stepped in, covering Saquon Barkley. And just really going over numbers, just talking things through. I think he's going to be all right for fantasy. It really depends on the price you want to pay and where you're at, whether it's like startup draft versus trading for, trading away, what you want to do with those. Thing about that, if you look at things in 1 to 2 year windows, I kind of do that with the running backs. You kind of like have to these days. He's in an all right spot. You got a good contract on a team that's going to move the football. The thing about Saquon, he's been dealing with injuries these last few years. That's the thing about that, for sure. For sure. But let's move on to another player. Pull up some more stats here if we get to it. A lot went down. There's some stuff that I'm pulling up here like, whoa. Hold up. Where am I at here? I was looking in the comments. He's got what? Oh, shoot. All right. There he goes. Joe Mixon release. We'll go over that again. I don't know where he's going to go. Could be a good situation for Dallas. For Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon in Dallas. That just seems like a good fit. Good size, adjusted athleticism. Can catch the ball in the backfield. All the other top running backs are gone. Derrick Henry, there's rumors with him and the Ravens, but when is there not? It just seems like a good fit. All the top spots are pretty much donezo. There's not many left. So what I think about that is I think Dallas might be a good spot for him. There's probably another spot or two that I'm not thinking of. But I think they probably would like to have a veteran running back and a guy drafted if I'm looking at the landscape of things. Chase Brown, he's trending. Think about the ancillary players happening here. He's seeing a boost right now. People are gobbling him up. Even though Zach Moss is going to the Bengals, people are excited about that. That's going to go up. I know what some people will do, think of that as an instant sell, but it really depends. You kick the tires and you see what's coming back at you. If you're getting a mid-second or higher, like say if it's 203, 202-ish, like wide receivers falling down that range that you might like. That running back run of this year's draft is happening in the middle of the second round. That's why we do all the mock drafts, is to get a good idea of what runs are happening on average on a macroeconomic standpoint. So you kind of get a good idea of when you deal these picks. At least you got some substance of what could happen. Or you can hold them. That too. You'll get instant ROI if you sold him now. But again, he popped off last year. He did some things. Chase Brown. Let's look into him. Let's go look at him real quick because he's got some interesting numbers. Well, during that time, I might have to do a video on him just covering his numbers because why not? Maybe just take the dust off the You Need series from the end season be like, you need Chase Brown, and then it's me telling you why you need him or don't need him. But he had that pop-off week against Indy for 19.5 points. And then just a little bit of opportunities there. Let's look at – oh, man, this thing's scrolling like crazy. Here we go. We're looking here. Just the back half of the season, 9, 11, 10, 13. I imagine with Zach Moss there, that's going to increase. It's not like he's Joe Mixon, but Zach Moss is super, super dependable, right? You want him out on the field just doing the dirty stuff, but we might get some opportunity here for Chase Brown. Now's not the time to buy. That should have been earlier, and should have been earlier like when we were getting that news about Joe Mixon. Like, hey, he might be dealt. Hey, he might be dealt. This might be happening. We didn't fully take that in, and I imagine the reason why is because Matthew Berry spit that news out to the public, and we were like, oh, that's Matthew Berry, and no one took it really seriously. I didn't see anybody really talking about it too much. Chase Brown and ancillary buy, I think people started gripping tighter than though when they heard that. If you had Chase Brown on your roster, I would say I don't see anyone selling for 3. I just don't see anybody doing that. That'd be too crazy. You held this long. You could have sold when he was productive anyways for that one game. Sold him for that 3 to get that ROI. I don't see that happening. That's not logical. 205 seems middle of the roadish. Like, it seems like if you're looking at 1,000 leagues. Joe Mixon a buy? That's a good question. It really depends. I'd kick, like, if I'm looking at Joe Mixon in my league, I'm kicking the tires. And I imagine, like, I think a 3rd would be too cheap to be realistic. Like, I would think that would be too cheap. But I would try, but I know it's not going to work. And it really depends on my league and how seriously I want them to take me. I would imagine similar to what I was saying with Chase Brown here right now until there's a clear-cut landing spot. So middle second, early second. Probably more earlier second, 203-ish, 202-ish range will probably get it done more than often. If I really had to think about it. The lower you go in the second round, the less likely it's going to get done. And I imagine in a lot of leagues, a lot of people are just going to hold on tight and just wait. Because you've got a lot of people that would just wait. I think it might be a buy just to, if I'm going to buy, I'd rather buy before the news breaks out and just take that gamble. I'd rather just take the gamble, and if I lose, I lose. And if I win, then I'm in the big. Because if he goes to Dallas's offensive line isn't what it used to be. But he's still going to get work in using the passing game. This isn't the greatest NFL draft of running backs, so they're not going to really draft anybody of consequence here. Nothing to really worry about that. But what I really think about here is if he's not going to go to a spot and not get used, he's still got some juice left. We've seen that. He's going to get some opportunity wherever he goes. I think Chase Brown, 301. I think you got a return on your investment with that. I think he's probably going to get a little bump up now, but you'll have to wait and see on that with them. They may even draft another running back for all we know because they got Zach Moss and Chase Brown. That doesn't feel like the most locked-in running back depth chart there. They may bring in somebody else. Ramondre for Singleton. I'm not really big on Ramondre, so I'm cool with that. I think it's kind of a push. I think it's good, though. I want to see what Singletary is going to be looking like. Did I say Singleton? I want to see what Singletary looks like with the Giants. I think it's more of a push, but I think Singletary may have more upside than Ramondre with the Giants a little bit. Singletary is very, very dependable. Very dependable. I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be looking like in New England. We know we got Brissett there now. That's a big change. They're making a lot of changes with the offense with the new coaching staff here. Just got to see what happens. Just got to see what happens there. I think that's more of a push. I like Singletary there for NFL football reasons. I think it could be a sneaky bet for fantasy football as like a money ball play, not like as on the top end. I think 301, there's going to be like a good player there. there's going to be something there, or that's going to be a piece that you can package with your other second round to move up a spot or two to get to that second round player you want. So I don't hate the 301. I don't hate the 301 at all. But we look at Chase Brown here. We had one good week last week. He's explosive. You go over here to player profiler. You go over here. Looking at his numbers. This is a GoPro thing that holds the camera. So I don't know why I have it. There it is. So we're looking at that. 4.43 40-yard dash, 89th percentile speed score. I'm going to blow that up right there. Very solid numbers. He may be a true 3-down workhorse with it. He might. That's the thing, especially this year. And we're looking at 1-year windows, 2-year windows with running backs. He might get that opportunity. And I think that could be a sneaky money ball play on the cheap with him. Because the Giants, the thing about them and the thing about those cheaper running backs, he's ambiguous. The Giants are very ambiguous. You got like a lot of ambiguous nature there that could lead to something with the workload. I don't mind it. I think it's a great money ball play at the running back position, and especially when you're looking at cheap running backs. Yep, he was definitely in Buffalo with him. I'm at 206 miles north of San Francisco and may be able to get Brooks or Allen at 206 and Pearsall at 301. Yep, you might be able to get one of those running backs. More than likely, you probably will be able to score one of those running backs unless they land in a good situation. Pearsall, I hear a lot of rumors about him, so he could be going in the second round, could be going a little bit later. I know it sounds like Big Draft likes him, the NFL likes him. Obviously, we like him. I think 301, he's a good candidate to go there. And if he's not there, he might be going like 211, 212, but he's probably a good candidate to be there at 301. Once the dust settles, once this running back class settles in, I think in the second round you may see Superflex def should be a good candidate to be there. Because you got to think you got four quarterbacks going in the first round. More than likely, J.J. McCarthy goes in the first round. I say there's, 75 to 80% chance. Seems like he's locked in, but every year we get a quarterback getting this type of steam, like Will Levis this last year, Malik Willis the year before. We'll have to see, but more likely is. And that's going to push the board in the first round. In the second round, we're probably going to get like a Penix and a Bo Nix. I like Pierce. I also like him as a money ball play as well in the draft. One of those like cheaper-esque wide receivers who's got good ball skills, gets downfield, had a very good Senior Bowl as well. I like Pearsall a lot. I think for the price and what you're getting, especially the running backs are going to be nuked, and where he's going, it's great. I think it's going to be a great spot. I think there's going to be a hole in the tight end spot. I think the running backs are going to be nuked, and we're getting ready to head into a different tier. I think Ricky Pearsall, I mean, you look at the numbers there. He had a good combine. Did very well there. Production-wise, technically broke out with 2 different collegiate programs. That last year, Arizona State, from a market share standpoint, wasn't too bad. And in 2023, that last year, 965 yards. But you look at the tape, though, he makes some big plays downfield. He's got some sticky hands. Pearsall does. He sure does. And breaks off routes pretty good as well. 189 pounds, 6'1". He's got some length to him when the ball's in the air. Good at contested catches. Going back here. Let's go back to the news. Find some talking points. Looking at that. Joe Mixon, though. Can't wait to see where he goes. Brandon McManus. The Zach Moss signing to Cincy. Pretty much going to be a meat shield there for Brown. I think those two are going to feed off each other. I bet you the Bengals go to the running back well in the draft. Might be a later round guy. Might be somebody else, but I bet you they pick up a running back. might pick up a speculation play, a guy that's got some upside. They're not going to spend top-tier draft capital, though. They're not going to do that. Buccaneers are re-signing Chase Edmonds. These running backs are moving quick on the market. These running backs are moving very quick. The ancillary running backs are moving on day one. It's not even midnight yet. Chase Edmonds is getting deals. That's really giving us a depiction of what this running back class or what the NFL thinks of this running back class. Chase Edmonds is catching deals out there. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign because you can get a running back for a little cheaper with a mid and late round pick. That's not a good sign for this running back class, but it could be. It could be not a factor either. They may be just getting a running back and getting more running backs in the draft. But if you looked at the draft last year, how running backs fell, and now you're looking at what's happening in free agency. You look at other free agencies, how running backs would just sit there. Other years in free agency, running backs would just sit there. And now we're looking at running backs, and they're just flying off the board. By 3 p.m., we've had like 6 or 7 running backs signed, and that was the biggest position to move. I'm talking about how running backs don't matter, running backs don't get paid, running backs just – what kind of ad is that? Who plays that? That's not even in English. Hero Wars. I play Retro Bowl. Do you guys play Retro Bowl? Pour one out for Alexander Madison. Yeah, he's still out there. Here's some of the new running backs right here. He's still out there, just waiting. Had some injuries last year. But overall, dependable running back between the tackles, gets it done. He should sign. He'll probably sign tomorrow. Probably sign pretty soon. I mean, everybody else is signing. Saquon, Eagles, Josh Jacobs, Packers, Austin Eckler, Commanders, Tony Pollard, Titans, Swift to Bears. I think that one's an interesting landing spot when you think about that one. I know we talked about him in his tenure with the Eagles earlier, but thinking about him with the Bears, Roschon Johnson, does that nuke him? That has to nuke him a little bit, right? And then you're looking at Khalil Herbert. Are they just going to switch these guys in and out? DeAndre Swift is a good buffer for a rookie quarterback, though. You get Caleb Williams in, and you got a Swift who's very efficient and catch passes out of the backfield. A good buffer for a rookie quarterback to check down with. I think that's a good move NFL-wise. We have to see how much workload they're going to let him have. I have a good feeling. I mean, it's almost obvious that they were pulling their hair out last year when running backs kept getting hurt. Khalil Herbert was hurt. Roschon Johnson, he had a concussion. Deonta Foreman was hurt. Typically, when you see a whole backfield get hurt during the season, they're coming in free agency or the draft guns blazing to get some new bodies in there. Typically, that's what's happening. That's what's happening here with DeAndre Swift. They signed him quick, too. They signed him very quick. DeAndre Swift, one of the first guys to get signed today. Gus Edwards to the Chargers. I think that's just a smart move. I think Gus Edwards is a good money ball play in Dynasty. I think he should have been gobbled up before free agency started. He's just such a dependable running back. Antonio Gibson to the Patriots. Any other landing spot, right? Any other landing spot. But that landing spot, and you're looking at what's on that team, Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson wasn't doing anything last year. He's slow. He's a slow running back. I mean, he can catch passes out of the backfield and run routes, but he ain't doing that no more. You got Antonio Gibson. He's going to be running all the routes. He's going to be doing that. Antonio Gibson going to be getting that workload. You know that. Ramondre Stevenson got nuked. He got nuked, right? He's going to get short yards and goal line situation, but was it 2022 workload? Ain't happening again. It ain't happening. Ain't coming back. He ain't being the top 3 of the running backs in the league and routes ran anymore. That's gone. Those days are over. Eckler to the Commanders. Like I said earlier, that surprises me. I wasn't really thinking of it. I wasn't really pontificating about running backs going to the Commanders. That wasn't a big thing for me. Just going over there. Singletary to the Giants. I think that's a good money ball play if you want to play cheap on running backs. I think that's a good cheap guy. Devontae Parker's dust. He's donezo. Moving on down here. Pour a little liquor out for Aaron Jones. Loved him coming out of college. Loved him coming out of UTEP. Good numbers there. I think his time is dwindling down, though. I mean, it's obvious that you're a running back. Your time's not going to be long. Maybe we get a year or two. Maybe. A contract, too, is part of that. Just working down the timeline. I know there's more down. Why was there like 50 posts of Saquon? Kirk Cousins getting a 4-year deal. Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta. Been thinking about that one all day as well. I remember in the morning, it was like 10 in the morning, and the tweet came out. Yeah, and then Zach Moss had that run where he was productive. Looking at Zach Moss, I think that was a good deal. I think you did good with that. Like, Zach Moss is going to get some tenure in Cincinnati and a very good team. But if you look, last year he had a very good run in production. Where are we at here? Look at that. Just that run right there. Week 2, 3, 5, and 6. Some RB2 weeks. Double-digit performances. If you like your scoring like that, 12, 14, 17, 33, 22 and a half, 20. Solid. Had some injuries in there. Missed some time in there. But that's the running back position for you. He's very dependable. And now you're going to get another run here with Cincinnati. He earned it with that. And then Ramondre Stevenson's going to have to compete with Antonio Gibson. I think that deal worked out really well for you. I don't know what time you made that deal. I don't know if that was mid-season or prior to the season. But looks like things are going well for you. But Cousins. Yeah, bad trades can go good. Bad trades can definitely go good, especially when players like that. I mean, if you did a bad trade with like Bijan or something, that might eat you alive. But when you're looking at a guy like Ramondre or one of those middling or middle running backs in like the rankings, it could go either way pretty quick, especially when you got a running back there that runs in the 4.6s. Joe Mixon to the Packers or Vikings. So Joe Mixon mixed with Josh Jacobs, that'd be an interesting fit. I think the Vikings would be fun. Hopefully they get a quarterback. Hopefully they do something with that, either through the draft. So say they go J.J. McCarthy and you got Justin Jefferson and company, and then you rock Joe Mixon. I mean, if you think about it, if you're looking to pick up J.J. McCarthy and have him be your starting quarterback, and then you need a buffer there at running back, Joe Mixon would be a guy to look at. Joe Mixon would be a guy. And you know Derrick Henry, the rumors is he's talking with the Ravens. I don't know what's slowing things down there. Imagine his contract is probably going to be funny. I can't wait to see those numbers. He's probably was waiting for the Saquon deal or something. But when we look at that, we look at what's going on with that. I think picking up a Mixon for the Vikings is pretty cool. I think that would be a smart idea on their part. I don't know how that works with their cap. I'd have to look at that real quick. But that would make a lot of sense. I don't know if the Packers would want to go Mixon and Josh Jacobs. That'd be a lot invested with them. But I could definitely see that. I don't know if the Cowboys are looking to pay up and get a running back. I said that earlier, but also when you think about it, they got burnt by Zeke. They did not want to pay Tony Pollard. They may be just trying to play money ball with some cheap assets there. Maybe they play money ball with Mixon and draft a guy. But looks like they're probably going to play money ball with the running backs. Rico Dowdle and whoever they draft, or Rico Dowdle and a cheaper veteran, whoever that may be who's left, because the running backs are just running rampant on the market right now. But then you look at a guy here like Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota, going to Atlanta, bought a house. Yeah. It'd be a one year that Jones ain't want to take. Yeah, He wouldn't want to take that. Yeah, the Dallas backfield, I haven't heard much about it. Dallas is one of those teams that when you think about them, you think they do all this crazy stuff, but they're very conservative and they're very quiet. You look at their draft picks, you look at them later in the first round this year, I guarantee they draft like a boring offensive lineman and they might reach a little bit to get their guy. And everyone will hate the pick and that player will end up all right. That's really how they run. They're very conservative, actually. And they got bit by Zeke. I imagine they're probably being kind of quiet. Mixon to the Raiders would be fun. Mixon to the Raiders, that's a good call. That's a good call after losing Jacobs. Especially now you got that quarterback battle with Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. You got those two together, and then you add in Joe Mixon to that as a buffer. Because you got to have a buffer there if you're losing out, unless you just want to roll with Zeus. Unless you just want to play Moneyball there. Either Raiders or Dallas are playing Moneyball with running backs and going to the draft. Because Zeus did have a decent run. He did last year. And maybe looking at that, and they might be playing it cheap. But I think that's a good one. So good, yeah. Yeah. The Raiders could be, especially with the running back, with the quarterbacks you got there. And you're going cheaper. You're not going with like a Fields or anything. So you might be able to want or be more inclined to go with or paying up with a running back. That would make sense. That would make sense. I think they'd either do something like that or play Moneyball and go cheap. Bengals re-signed Drew Sample. Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. All we heard was talk about that all day. That's an interesting dichotomy between those two running backs. Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Yeah, Justin Fields still available. That's such a weird conundrum. I don't know what offers have been sent or what offers they're trying to work, because you really think about that trade or the potential of the trade, and you figured what we saw from Fields over the numbers here ain't really going to give it to you. But, man, if you look at what he can do on the ground running it and some of that upside here, but you look at Justin Fields over the course of his career, it's been a short career. It feels like he's been in the league forever. PPR upside, if you're looking at from just the fantasy lens, that's looking very solid. You look at, let's see what we got here for efficiency metrics. Let's see how deep we chucking it. We got some deep balls coming out of him. May want to look at like the last two, less convoluted here. 432 with deep balls, less than 300 air yards in a lot of games. 209 passing air yards a game. Not really pushing it downfield too much. Kind of wish we'd get more of that. Let's see here. Passing. We got passing stuff. Passing attempts. You see the passing attempts kick up here. We got a good bit here in his rookie season. Actually, 39, 33, 32. Make this. But here you look in year 2. They didn't let him throw the football. He does not have a game in 2022 where he threw more than 30 pass attempts. We threw the ball a little bit more in 2023. We had a 40 pass attempt game there. Yeah, the thing about the Vikings and Bears, though, I don't know if they want to do it in trade. Hey, what's up, Colberg? Hey, man, quick shout out to you. Just want to say thanks because I drafted Puka last year because of – thanks, man. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Yeah, I was all over Puka last year. Not all over him, but I was up and down, up and down. It's just part of me like talking in circles, kind of like what I'm doing right now, talking in circles about a player. And instead of like taking a take on a player, if I just give you the information and you can make your choice, right? Like, it's not like I can like just say my feelings all the time. Like, I think there's been times where I've actually felt like I was down on a player, but I've talked in circles enough. I sold somebody into buying the player, and it worked out for them. And I think I like doing that type of analysis the best because, honestly, if you see something in the stats or something I say, and I have certain feelings, my feelings could be wrong, but you know what? The analysis, the analytics and stuff, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And if it hits you and then your gut calls for it, then that's what matters, right? That's what matters. I like Puka. I had him up in my rankings, and for my rookie rankings going into the season, he just kept going up there. Because on my last rookie video, I had my assets up there, and I was going to re-rank the rookies like in December. And I was like, man, I had him higher than I thought I did because I was kind of down on myself because I thought in my head I had him lower all the time, but I didn't. But I also put out that video right before the season saying, hey, you need to buy him because one thing. Yeah, you took on 17.7. Yeah, the one thing about him at that time is we were catching a lot of news from camp that he was climbing the depth chart and the upside there, and you can see the pathways, the opportunity. That was a smart move, taking that shot on him too. A big thing here late in drafts, like you did in 17.7 pick, young guys, year 2 guys, rookies, guys who have or maybe a pathway to opportunity, whether it's week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, taking shots on that. The guys who usually break out are usually like year 2, year 1. Those are the guys who usually break out. Rarely year 3, 4. Sometimes an older vet off of their rookie deal when they go to a new team, sometimes they'll break out. But usually that first year, second year, that's when they'll hit, and you'll get that random guy that'll break out, and you want to take shots randomly on those, especially in a deeper draft. Those last picks, you want to have a few rookies, a few second year guys with that upside. And usually during that time, I'll tell you to pick as many of those guys up as you can fit. That makes sense. I don't know. I think Puka was in line to get opportunity, and I think he would have got opportunity no matter what going into that. He was making some head waves in camp, and the Rams seemed to move up their players in camp pretty quickly if they start hitting, especially late round guys. We saw that with Kyren Williams going into his rookie season. There was a lot of news about that, but thinking about Kyren Williams, he had that injury, he had a late start, really ramping up in his rookie season. We had some little flashes, but not much, and then things really hit this year. Wilson to Pickens should be a good fit together. He's got a better accurate deep ball downfield compared to Pickett and company. So that should be a good fit, at least for Pickens. I would like to see that as a good experiment as well. I think that'd be a good fit. I think those guys would go well with each other. I think when you think about those guys, I think that's a solid pickup. Garrett Wilson and Pickens. I like Garrett Wilson. I'm a Ohio State guy, but one thing, freshman year, Ohio State spring game. Look that up on YouTube. I don't know if I can play it on here because I might catch a copyright. Look that up on YouTube. That he caught a touchdown pass, ball in the air, just rose up, climbed the ladder, just sticky hands. Garrett Wilson, you knew since then that he was going to be a big-time prospect. I mean, you knew from the recruiting cycles and all that, but Garrett Wilson, you knew there was something special there from that play going forward. You got excited. And I think Pickens, where do you think he's going to be ADP-wise for a redraft? Like middle of the draft, right? Mid-round pick. and you're getting more functional quarterback play going his way, I think that's going to be a solid get there. And Pickens probably going to get more air yards, more balls going his way. I think that's going to be solid, actually. I think that's a good thought process. But Garrett Wilson, I think, yeah, with Aaron Rodgers back, I think that's going to be a good look. I mean, let's look at Garrett Wilson here real quick. Garrett Wilson right there. PPR. I mean, this is just with that Jets team. We're averaging 12.8 PPR points per game, but also you want to look at the upside weeks at 20, 17, 17, 18, 17, 15, 15. He was a functional wide receiver too, with a little bit of upside last year. That ain't too bad. So that's with that bad quarterback play. Yeah, the quarterback play was awful last year. They're in and out. But that's not bad. And then that should increase, especially with Rodgers. They were humming in camp together. Then look at the year prior. They had a few wide receiver 1 weeks, some low-end weeks right there, but everything looking good with Garrett Wilson. All right, guys. I think I'm going to head off. Thank you, guys, for watching the stream tonight. I'm going to try and do more of these. Seems like they've been hitting off pretty good. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. I'll catch you guys on the next video, and we'll do another late night stream here soon.